Now on the D3Football.com Around the Nation podcast. It's time for Fast Five, and I'm joined by Coach Chuck Goldstein of Gallaudet University. His team victorious on Saturday, of course, but most importantly, debuting this brand new 5G football helmet from AT&T. Coach, first off, congratulations, and I really thank you for joining us also on video.
Oh, thanks for having me, Pat.
So tell us about the whole process of this. I first heard about this maybe about a year ago, so I assumed that it had to have been in process even longer than that.
We've been working with AT&T for the last 21 months, just trying to make everything work out. And they contacted us, they asked us if we were interested in a collaboration. And finally, on yesterday's game, it was amazing. It was awesome, totally awesome.
Right. So you have to get the permission from an opponent to be able to use this, right?
Yeah. I mean, a really big, thank you to Hilbert, giving us the opportunity to use this in game. The NCAA waiver requires, approval from the team you're playing against. And they were excited about it as much as we were. They were part of this and they're part of history. So we really appreciate Tim, their athletic director, Ted, the head coach. They really were awesome through the process with everything.
I will just give an alert to our listeners. Fast Five will run a little bit long and a little bit less fast today because I feel like there's a lot to talk about. Are there more opponents who you have approached about using it this season?
No, this year was a one-time NCAA waiver. And again, it was important. It's a learning experience. We need to report back to the NCAA, give them feedback of everything that was positive, things maybe that didn't work well. But again, this is just the first step. And that's all we asked for was an opportunity to help us maybe bridge the gap for like a level playing field. And that was the most important. So we're going to take it from here and see what happens in the future.
I know it's difficult to communicate with players at Gallaudet when they're on the field, on the floor. I think, people know I talk about having been at Catholic University as an undergrad, as sports information director. I actually was SID at Gallaudet for a whole 3 months on an interim basis forever ago. And, the way that people try to get, attention to the student athletes, like if you're in basketball, you can maybe stomp on the floor, right? And they can feel the vibrations and that sort of thing. The football field is much bigger and not nearly as resonant in that regard.
No, it's tough because, it's not a level playing field. Sometimes we can't communicate with our players when we need. ASL is very visual. If someone's not looking at you, then they're not going to know what you're saying. That's 100%. And we've been stuck in the past with play calls, missing the end of a play call or a quarterback. I can't get his attention. You see me on a sideline and I'm going crazy. I'm screaming, I'm jumping, and there's just no reaction. So that's tough. So that part of communication, but where play calls normally, it's smooth. We communicate in our language, which is not a problem, but it becomes a problem when we get inside the 20, because coaches are stuck on the 20.
Yeah.
And if the ball's on the 2, sometimes that's a good distance to see a clear, ASL communication. Other hearing teams can just shout out and get someone's attention, but we're stuck with that.
How did the technology work for you on Saturday? How well did it go?
It was really smooth. I was a little nervous, ahead of time because the weather. We had rain in the first quarter, and we've not practiced with the technology in the weather and the rain. But I had a towel with me the whole time, and I had to kind of went through. One of the things I would change for myself would be maybe having a pen, because my hands were moist and it was normally it was a touch.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, after we kind of settled down, it was really good. We have on the tech part with the tablet is a red kind of exclamation point, and it's the emergency button. Okay. So 3 times I used it to get our quarterback's attention, and he looked right at me. Now, one time it was a mistake. I was trying to clear the play. So it's a button. I send it and it goes to the quarterback and then it'll disappear 15 seconds. But I was trying to make it go away before the 15 seconds and I hit the wrong button. And he looked at me again. I was like, no. Just run the play. And we laughed. We laughed about it. It was funny. But it wasn't a distraction. I really thought our players were like, oh, it's gonna be a distraction. We practiced with it for this week, like full time, and it never became a distraction,
Good.
and which was great, which helped a lot.
So Brandon Washington's your signal caller, right? Is there also someone on defense who takes calls from the sidelines with this technology now?
No, for this first time, we decided because of the technology, we only had 3 helmets. And we only have 70 players on the team,
Yeah.
and not a lot of depth. And when we started the process, we never knew if we were going to have an injury or not. So we decided just to keep it on offense and keep it with the 3 quarterbacks.
All right. So tell us about Brandon Washington, right? He's a guy who's pretty electric for you at that position, especially with the offense you guys run.
Yeah, he's special. He's very special. He's hard of hearing. He's not deaf, so he can hear a little bit. So communicating with him, he talks. We have our freshman quarterback, Trevin Adams, he's fully deaf from Riverside, California.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's 2 different, access to communication. But Brandon is very special. He is talented. Again, we don't throw a lot. We try to run the ball, but he makes plays. He makes plays for us. And we've been struggling this year. Starting 0-4, we've had so many injuries. Like Brandon had a serious AC sprain, and we had to move him from quarterback, put him at wide receiver a little bit, which people know where he is on the field at all times because he's going to make plays.
Right.
He had touchdown scoring from wide receiver, from quarterback. He's a really just talent we have. Lucky to have him too.
You guys obviously have gotten quite a bit of publicity about this. I know I've seen this story on my social media feed so many times from so many different publications. It's probably too soon to know, what kind of effect this will have on getting your program's name out there. Obviously, you are well known in your community, right? The community that you are recruiting from. But do you think that this might have some positive impacts on who you're able to get and who you're able to convince to come to Gallaudet to play football in the future?
I would say this last week, when Thursday morning when we were on Good Morning America, the next hour after that, it just became just madness, crazy. People texting. I found, I would say probably another like 12 recruits, people who didn't know about Gallaudet University until they saw us on TV. And so it's so much of a positive. Anytime we can have a national, just spotlight, it helps so much. It's just such a good recruiting tool. I email 27,000 head football coaches every year and ask them if they have any deaf and hard of hearing players. Most of the time, people don't even know Gallaudet is a school for the deaf and hard of hearing. So this helps so much. And there's so many deaf and hard of hearing players. I've received probably 15 emails, text messages from parents who have deaf and hard of hearing kids that play high school football.
Yeah.
This changes the game for them. For us, we communicate in ASL. It's kind of easy. This helps us. But for a kid who is the only deaf kid on the team in a hearing school, they finally give an opportunity to show what they can do. Sometimes deaf kids on hearing teams are forced to play defense because it's easier to communicate. See ball, eat ball, go.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be crazy. It's not stopping here. Our official commercial, we did a commercial shoot 2 weeks ago on our bye week. That'll air on Saturday.
Okay.
And they're going to introduce it on College Game Day.
Wow.
So it's just another opportunity for Gallaudet to show the world who we are again. So it's really cool.
And let me ask, what's the next step for this technology to get it, more codified into NCAA rules, into the playing rules, that sort of thing?
A great question. I don't think myself, people from AT&T thought that much ahead. It's just so much new, and just, again, it was a test. It was a try. Now, if I can get all my players in this, that'd be amazing, because we really struggle. It's not a level playing field.
Right.
We get penalties because our players don't hear the whistle.
The whistle. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, if I could have this and have that red, like show up on defense when the officials stop the play,
Yeah.
that'll change things. I can't, again, last year, homecoming, we finished 5-1 in the league, and we were down 18 from Maritime, and we come back fourth quarter, we score 16.
Right.
2-point play to tie the game. We sneak the play the 2-point before. So I call the play, sneak, quarterback changes and doesn't look at me, but he missed the pass part.
Mm. Okay.
Up with the mistake, we lose the game by 2 points.
Gotcha.
It's not like, for us, that just it hurts because we have talent, we have good players, but sometimes we get stuck. 2 weeks ago at Nichols, our cornerback is set up in the neutral zone. The official is telling him to scoot back. We're on our own 2-yard line. They snap it, they fumble, we recover it, penalty on us.
Yeah.
And I always tell the officials, like, hey, if you need to communicate, just tell us, we'll communicate in ASL to them. But like, I'm standing on the 20, the official's on the 2. If he would have told me, I was in our corner could have saw me. He was looking like through me, and they forget, but that's why it's not a level playing field. It's never going to be that. And we're stuck, and that's who we are. It's fine.
Well, hopefully we get this technology implemented at some point in the NCAA rules, and at least to try to level that out a little bit.
And to be honest, I'm excited for the future. This is the start for what could be in the future. Yeah. I mean, what if, like, again, all college players had this, or NFL? Right. Like 2 weeks ago, Kirk, Cousins, he couldn't hear the offensive coordinator, and he says, that's why they lost the game, because he didn't know the play.
Yeah.
Who knows? But we're just happy and honored and grateful for everything involved with AT&T and just giving us this opportunity to, test and have this experience, because it was just unbelievable. It's awesome.
I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you, everything. We're looking, it was totally awesome.
We also talked about how this technology might get codified into the NCAA's playing rules, and the short answer is this hasn't gotten that far yet.
No, it hasn't, and I hope it gets some serious attention by the NCAA, because it's really exciting technology, and I think really good for not just Gallaudet, but for the game. This is obviously really exciting time for Gallaudet. This is a tremendous opportunity to leverage technology to make football accessible, not just for deaf and hard of hearing players, but also to level the playing field for Gallaudet. Coaches being limited to certain areas of the field that make communicating with ASL difficult. That puts Gallaudet at a distinct competitive disadvantage. We know that the huddle was invented by Gallaudet in 1894. That innovation became ubiquitous across not only football, but in most sports, basketball, baseball, pretty much any team sport huddles somewhere at some time. So, I'm really excited about this technology and how we might use it or how it might be used to expand into the greater football community. We've seen communication devices become standardized in baseball, and I could see an evolution of this technology where we use it widely across football as a more effective way to communicate plays, more effective than giant poster boards with pictures of Iron Man, the Spice Girls, a train caboose, and Lionel Messi's head.
I'm not sure what play combines Iron Man, the Spice Girls, a train caboose, and Messi's head, but I look forward to seeing it. I'm hopeful, Greg, that there aren't any hurdles put into place for this to be approved and put into the NCAA's playing rules. I was also very interested to hear Coach Goldstein talk about, obviously we've known, and it makes sense that within the deaf community, Gallaudet is pretty well known, right? But there are, he said, however many emails he sent out to coaches on an annual basis, because there are so many other places where there might be one player who's deaf or hard of hearing on a high school football roster who is getting by, who might be interested in participating in an experience that's a little more tailored to them at the college level. That is a piece that, even though I've spent time at Gallaudet in my past, that had not really been on my radar.
Yeah, I think it's a really intriguing possibility for players that want to continue their careers with the kinds of tools that can make playing the game a little bit. I mean, it's about accessibility is the word we're using. It's, makes the game more accessible, more competitive for them. And to be part of something that's innovative and innovating the game, I think is really enticing as well.
I just think having a tablet on the sidelines is a good idea.